Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We are back. We are continuing on with our look at the triennial Torah portion. This week we will be looking at Exodus 38. We have a short portion this week. So we'll kind of think about what this Torah portion kinds of causes us to think about in terms of its spiritual significance, and we'll deal with some related issues to what we find in this week's portion. This portion begins with these are the reckonings. These are the reckonings. So we'll go ahead and look at Exodus 38, 21 through 31, and we'll see what it is that we can find inside of these scriptures here. Let me pull up the verses here. Let's see here. Exodus 38, 21. Just read those 10 verses there.
These were the appointments of the dwelling place of the witness, which was appointed by the mouth of Moshe, for the service of Levites by the hand of Ithamar, son of Aaron, the priest, and Betzalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Yehudah, made all that Yahweh had commanded Moshe. And with him, Oholiab, son of Ahisamach, and of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and designer, and embroider in blue and purple and scarlet material, and in fire linen. All the gold prepared for the work, and all the work of the set apart place. And it was the gold of the wave offering came to be 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the shekel of the set apart place. And the silver from the ones counted of the congregation was on 100 talents and 1,775 shekels, according to the shekel of the set apart place. A bekah, half a shekel for a head, according to the shekel of the set apart place, for everyone passing over, to those counted from 20 years old and above, for 603,550 men. And the 100 talents of silver were for casting the sockets of the set apart place and the bases of the veil. 100 sockets.
Oh, go ahead. I don't know what it's doing.
100 sockets. Where was I?
Oh, wait a second.
The talents of silver casting the sockets of the set apart place. 100 sockets from the 100 talents, a talent for each socket. And of the 1,775 shekels, he made looks for the columns and overlaid their tops and made bands for them. And the bronze of the wave offering was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. Is that all?
Oh, sorry.
And with it he made the sockets for the door of the tent of appointment, and the bronze slaughter place, and the bronze grating for it, and all the utensils for the slaughter place. And the sockets for the courtyard all around, and the bases of the courtyard gate, and all the pegs for the dwelling place, and all the pegs for the courtyard all around.
Okay, so when we look at this here, we see that it kind of gives you an overview of what it took to make the tabernacle in terms of all of the gold and the silver and the brass. And so I was just thinking about when you look at hold on one second, let me see if I can't well, no, I can't show you this thing that I'm looking at. We can just look at it real quick. So when we think about these things over here in terms of the amount of gold, looking at these shekels and talents, you don't really get a grasp as to what these things kind of mean, because we think about pounds, we think about if you're in the metric system, you think about grams or things of that nature. But these talents are things that we don't think about because they're not part of the measurement of weights systems that we use. And so when you think about a talent, they said is approximately 34 kilograms. What I didn't do was I don't know how many kilograms is in a pound. How many kilograms is in a pound? I think it's 2. That's about 2.5. Oh, Dad, you should have known this from your history. You know what I'm saying? I think it's 1 pound. Okay, good.
What?
So kilogram is about a pound.
Wait, no.
Oh, a kilo?
No.
No, a gram. A gram.
Wait.
How many grams is in a pound? What did I say
how
first?
Many kilograms is in a pound?
Okay, I want to say kilograms because that's the numbers that I came up with was in kilograms. So how many kilograms is in a pound?
That's less than. There's 2.2 pounds in 1 kilogram.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said.
About 2 to 1 ratio.
It's 2 points.
So one talent is about
2.20.
60 so pounds.
Okay.
Right?
Well, that's 60 pounds.
Which is, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Okay, so
Don't carry 60 pounds around with you.
Okay, yeah.
Camel or something.
Okay, so as far as gold is concerned, right? They have, it says 29 talents and 730 shekels of gold. Well, shekel actually is 1/3000th of a talent. So it takes 3,000 shekels in order to make 1 talent, right? And so the amount of gold they had in talents was about 29 and a quarter talents, I would say. And so if we change that into kilograms, it's about 965 kilograms, right? And so if we think about gold, right? A kilogram of gold right now is about $60,000. Right? A kilogram of gold is about $60,000. So if we said we was going times $60,000 times 29, what's that do? We said $60,000 times 29. What you got there?
Yeah, millionaire.
How many zeros is that? 17.
That's 4 zeros.
Hold on, put the commas on there. I can't look at that. It's too many. What's the number?
You got
We saying 29 times 60,000. Okay, it took you too long. 1,740,000 dollars. Okay, so that's a lot, right? In this tabernacle thing, which is mostly the furniture on the inside, right? And so, and that's just gold. That's just the gold, right?
Yeah.
And so the silver was 100 talents. It was 100.5 talents. So we could just say 100 talents in terms of the shekels and the talents, because the shekels, it was like 1,775 shekels. But remember, it takes 3,000 shekels in order to get 1 talent. So you basically have 100 shekels worth of silver. And so now silver today is about $833 for a kilogram of silver. So if we said 833 times, what was it, 100, that's equal to $83,000 worth of silver that they had for the tabernacle.
Do you have a total amount of money that you came up with for the tabernacle?
Well, so far, what we say, 1,008,000, 1.8. We at 1.8 right now, right?
1.8 million?
Yeah.
For a tabernacle, like a tent in the wilderness.
Yeah. Right now we at 1.8. And then so for the brass, it was 70. It was about 70. Now brass is not as expensive. Brass is like $4.75 for a kilogram. So if you just said for the 3/4 times 70, that just gets you up to $300. So basically we just think about the 1.2. What I say, 1.2.
What? 1.7 million?
What? How many million I said? 1.2.
Yeah, 1.7.
Oh, 1.7.
So if Jay's a money guy, he's over here remembering the money.
Yeah. Right. So it was 1.7 million is what it was, right?
I'm writing it down.
For the tabernacle, 1.7 million. And so just thinking about the fact that this tabernacle was of great value. It was great value now we think about it. And I'm just saying this is the equivalent of what that would be for us way back then. Right? For them, it's still a great amount of money. And even if you think about it in the fact of just like, even if we don't think about, well, it's gold and it's so precious, just think about how heavy these things are, right? Because we looking at these things in terms of weight, right? So we talking about gold. You got this big old sack of gold that weighs all of this 60 pounds. That's like a whole, like, what do we say it was? Kilograms was 2 pounds. So 30 and 260. Yeah. So it was they had about 60 pounds of gold. They had about 200 pounds of silver and about 140 pounds of brass.
I'd hate to be carrying that. Just imagine if you was rich back then, man, you had to be strong.
Right, because you did.
Yeah, just have.
Just walking around with all that money on you.
Yeah, it wasn't like you. They didn't have the kind that fold. You know what I mean? They had the kind of that they put in the bag.
Boy,
Fantasy money.
They
Monopoly money.
they didn't have these promissory notes that we got over here. Like I promise to give you
I think
something
that guy did some good, real.
Yeah, it was. I remember when they came up.
Yeah,
I give you this piece of paper that signifies some
the
this
tree.
big old heavy things that I
Yeah,
got over
yeah,
here. But we saying all that just to say that this thing that the Most High used for the people to worship Him was of great value. And so again, when we think about the significance of the tabernacle, and how we think about the tabernacle now, where the Apostle Paul tells us that we are the temple, right? And just saying temple just caused me just to think about what Solomon did. Like we're already talking about this $1 million thing that they walked around the wilderness with, but the thing that right, yeah, basically almost $2 million thing that they had, but the thing that Solomon did was just he was like, he did it like how we do it. You know what I mean? He just went all out with it. And so we thinking about this almost $2 million thing, which was this basically tent with some shiny things on the inside. The thing that Solomon did was just like, it was like a palace.
Mm-hmm. He was real flamboyant.
It was just
king.
yeah.
He said Queen. He was impressive.
And so we saying that just to say that when we think about the Most High and what He thinks about His people, let's look over at Exodus 19:5. Exodus 19:5. What's the? Let me put this up here on the screen. What's this say right here?
And now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasure possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine.
Okay, he says, you shall be my treasured possession. Treasured possessions. Let's talk about this a little bit. Hold on, let me put this up here real quick. Let's see. It is this.
Treasured possession.
We want this one here. Okay, so we look at this here. The King James calls it a peculiar treasure. The Scriptures version says a treasured possession. That word in the Hebrew is segula. Segula. All right, which means, let's see here, let's put it over here. Make it a little bigger.
What was that possession?
It's treasure possession. It's both of these things. They use two.
Both of them.
They use two English words. They use two English words to give this thing over here, right? And so this word here means to shut up. Wealth, as closely shut up, jewel, peculiar treasure, something that's good or special. So we think about the idea of shutting up. It's not like, how you being mean to somebody. It's like you taking this thing and you putting it up somewhere. Like you sticking this thing up under your bed mattress.
In the safe.
Right? Yeah. This thing.
Shut
Shut
that door to the attic.
You putting this thing away where nobody could get to it at. right? You stashing this thing in a secret compartment so nobody could take it, right? This is like this special jewel. So it not only carries the idea of putting this thing away in a safe place, but it also has the idea of this special jewel, right? And so he's talking about his people Israel, right? And so this is the way that he thinks of his people. And so when we think about the way that the Most High is towards his people, this is one verse that kind of encapsulates something that all of Scripture expresses. When we look through Scripture, we're able to see the way the Most High treats Israel, the way he deals with his set apart people. It lets you know that we really are this peculiar treasure to him, right? And so it's very interesting that we look at this tabernacle and we see that it's something that's this, that is so precious and it's so kind of thought out and put together in terms of its instructions, being that it is this thing that kind of signifies Israel as a whole, or us Israel as individuals, right? But we want to, while thinking about the way that the Most High thinks about us, the way that he said that he would deal with us as a result of this covenant that he is making with his people, we want to look at some things over here and see what happens, because there's things that happens as a result of the way that the Most High treats his people Israel. Let's see. We looked at this scripture before, but I wanted to bring this up just because there's multiple examples of this. I thought of one, but then I automatically thought about this other one that seems a little more explicit. I like this one too here. I will look first. First, we'll go over here because I've seen something that I've never seen before, even though I've read this scripture probably 10 times. Let's see. Go down to verse 3. Start right. Hold on, wait. 2.
Okay. Son of man, make known to Jerusalem her abominations, and say, thus said Master Yahweh to Jerusalem, your origin and your birth are from the land of Canaan. Your father was an Amorite and your mother was a Hittite.
You talking about Israel? Go ahead.
As for your birth, on the day you were born, your navel cord was not cut, nor were you washed in water for cleansing, and you were not rubbed with salt at all.
Okay, stop right there. We're gonna take our time looking at this. When we look at this, right? So he's talking about Israel, first of all. He's talking about Israel, but then he talks about this birth of Israel that kind of is not really cared for at his birth.
Yeah.
Right? The umbilical cord ain't cut, it's not washed. And this thing, you were not rubbed with salt at all. That's it. I've never. Okay, so we got the women in here today. We could. I never heard of such thing. What you know about this whole thing with this?
Actually, I was really excited when you went to this verse because when I talked to women about Hebraic womanhood, I talked to them about the verse and saying that this is one of the customs of rubbing the baby with salt when they come out of the womb. And I should have remembered that with this stuff, but probably would have been impossible to do.
Yeah, I was looking at that. It's interesting the things that we did. There was both there's both kind of some natural things that go along with this whole salt rubbing thing, but it's also like some other things that was kind of a little little esoteric things that they. It's interesting, these things that they like they was warding off demons or evil
Yes,
spirits or something with the salt. But the point here, we could probably look at that probably more another time. But the point here is that this baby that was birthed wasn't cared for at first, right? From birth, right? It wasn't cared for. And it didn't receive all of the things that a newborn baby usually receives at birth. Okay, keep on going though.
It sounded like he was like they was prepared to be salt of the earth.
Yeah,
That's salt.
yeah. Okay, verse 5.
No eye felt sorry for you to do any of these for you to have compassion on you. But you were thrown out into the open field to the loathing of your life on the day you were born.
That's crazy. So you just take this Brenda had a baby.
Yeah, man.
Just took the baby and just throw the baby off on the side of the road, right? Verse 6.
Then I passed by you and saw you trampled down in your own blood. And I said to you, in your blood live. And I said to you, in your blood live.
Then the Most High come around, see this baby, and he say, no. We're gonna do something with this baby. What did verse 7 say?
I have let you grow like a plant in the field, and you are grown and are great, and you come in the finest ornaments. Breasts were formed, your hair grew, and you were naked and bare. Again, I passed by you and looked upon you and saw that your time was the time of carnal love.
Wait a second, you shouldn't be reading this.
Go
ahead.
And I spread my spirit over you and covered your nakedness.
Mm-hmm.
And I swore an oath to you, and you entered into a covenant with you, and you became mine.
Yeah,
declares the Master Yahweh.
Yeah, keep on.
And I washed you in water, and I washed off your blood, and I anointed you with oil, and I dressed you in embroidered work, and gave you sandals of leather. And I wrapped you in fine linen and covered you with silk.
Okay, so the Most High takes this baby that he sees that's basically received nothing, had nothing good unto his own self. It was left for dead, basically, the baby was, right? Left on the side of the road, the navel not cut, no salt, left in his own blood on the side of the road. The Most High come along, and then the Most High just brings life to this baby, right? It wasn't even just like a little bit of life, right? He just brought life to the fullness to this baby, and then made a covenant with this baby, anointing this child. Well, now we talking about beyond the baby, right? Because the baby was brought to the time of carnal love, right? Whenever that is, right? And so we see that the Most High, speaking of Israel, seeing Israel and basically bringing Israel to life and bringing us to a point of now being able to get into covenant with the Most High, anointing Israel with oil, dressing her in embroidered work and all types of clothings and silk and so on. We think about silk. Silk is so expensive because of all that it takes in order to just make this stuff. Like this is the finest of materials that could be used for clothing, and all of this stuff is given to this this individual that's kind of the personification of Israel. But I want to just think about the fact that this is the work of what the Most High did for Israel.
Right.
It's not like he saw this beautiful thing and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to be with that." He saw potential.
Some potential.
He didn't see nothing actualized.
Right, saw that.
He saw what he was able to do with this people, not what the people had done. And so
Right.
everything that's good that we see over here is something that was given to Israel.
Yeah.
Good.
I was just gonna say he was like a husband. He was a husband.
He was.
Cultivated.
He was a husband to Israel, right? He dressed. Let me. What's it? I wonder if this word is just a word that just means to just put some clothes on. I clothed. Labash, to wrap around, that is to put on a garment, clothes. I guess it basically is to arm, array, to wear. Yeah, I guess it basically is just to clothe.
Now you know how it feels when the Most High is brokenhearted, because I've done that before. You know, I chose a woman, the other people look down on, and I, made her into something that's worth looking at, and then she broke my heart. Dang, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Israel did to y'all. Made him something worth looking at, and then they broke his heart.
Okay, keep on going there with verse 11, right? Read verse 11.
And I adorned you with ornaments, and I put bracelets on your wrists, and a
All
chain
kinds of
on
things.
your neck.
Mm-hmm. Go
And
ahead.
I put a ring on your nose, and earrings in your ears, and a crown of adorning on your head.
Mm-mm-mm.
Thus you were adorned with gold and silver, and your dress was fine linen and silk, and embroidered cloth. You ate fine flour and honey and oil, and you were exceedingly beautiful and became fit for royalty.
Okay, so hold on a second. Let me see if this is this. I see how this is in the English, where it says you were exceedingly beautiful and became fit for royalty. I wonder. I wonder if this is something that's. Let's see. Exceeding, and thou didst prosper into a kingdom. What's this word here? Salah. To push forward. Interesting. Okay. To break out. To be meat, to be profitable. So I guess the idea there is present in terms of the idea of as it says in the English, to become fit for royalty. Thinking about the way that the Most High, again, the transition from basically nothing to the place of kind of adornment and beauty, exceeding beauty, that has come to a place of royalty as a result of what the Most High has done. Not because of who this woman is, but because of what the Most High has made this woman to be. Right. And so all of the things that we could see and look at and kind of think about all of the accolades that are connected to Israel over here are things that were added to Israel by the Most High. Started out with nothing. Just basically not even the thing that he started off with wasn't even life.
Just you ever heard the stories where, like, Orange Juice Jones?
Yes.
I saw you walking in the rain. Yeah. You was nothing.
That was a Bible.
Made you
that was
something.
a Bible story.
Yeah, it's a Bible. That's what I wrote in there. I said Orange Juice Jones was like related to y'all. And the girl was related to us as Israel. Yeah. When he jacked us for all the jewelry and he ever gave us, cut our credit card, took our purse, we was out there looking homeless, just like we was in the beginning.
But let's keep on going. Let's keep on going because he keeps on talking about this stuff. It just don't even end, right? We didn't even get to the end of the beautification of Israel yet, right? So keep on going. Verse 14, what does it say?
And your name went out among the nations because of your loveliness, for it was perfect by my splendor which I had put on you, declares the Master Yahweh.
Okay, so maybe now there's a turning point. So now we talking about I'm the Most High made Israel to be beautiful and all of these things, so much so that all of the nations was able to understand the beautifulness of Israel.
On top of the hill.
yes. And then what do 15 say? What does
But
it say?
you trusted in your own loveliness and whored because of your name, and poured out your whorings on everyone passing by who would have.
Okay, very good. We don't have to go any further than this, because the point that we see over here is that the Most High did everything for Israel in terms of, and everything good that we could bring up came from him. And then as soon as the people, as soon as Israel got to the place of kind of understanding what it is that the Most High did for for Israel, everything changes, right? And then it says you trusted in your own loveliness, which I'm not even sure what your own loveliness even is, because I didn't read anything about their own loveliness. I only read something about the loveliness that was given to them by the Most High. And so when we think back to the tabernacle, it's the same kind of a thing. We think about the tabernacle, this awesome thing that they put together, that came together from the people that gave all of the gold and the silver and the brass that they got from Israel, that they got because the Most High said to go ahead and take whatever you want from Egypt. So the only reason that they had anything to give, to add to the thing in the first place, was because of the Most High. Nothing of themselves, right? But there's what we want to think about is this pattern that is present within, I'm just going to say, human beings, right? Israel's the focus over here, but this pattern that's present within human beings, that when we get to a certain place, we forget about how it is that he got there. Okay, but I don't want to just say this one example, right? So let's get another one over here. Same people, different story. Right? Okay, let's look at verse 10. Let's start reading over at verse 10. Hold on, let me make this a little bigger here. Okay, go ahead at verse 10.
He found himself in a wilderness and in a wasted, howling desert. He encompassed him. He made him understand. He watched over him as the apple of his eye.
Okay, him now is Israel, of course. Before we spoke about Israel in terms of this woman, this baby that grew into a woman that became a bride. But over here, we're talking about Israel is the subject over here. Okay, verse 11.
As an eagle stirs up in its nest, flutters over its young, spreading out its wings, taking them up, bearing them on its wings. Yahweh alone led him, and there was no strange mighty one with him. He made him ride in the heights of the earth, and he ate the fruit of the
Okay, hold on one second, because verse 12 is interesting. It says, Yahweh alone led him, and there was no strange mighty one or God with him. Right? So we're seeing the Most High is doing this thing over here. He's the eagle that stirs up the nest, that flutters over his young, right? So when we think about this, it's giving you this kind of this personification of the Most High, and kind of comparing to what an eagle might do in terms of protecting the nest, right? In terms of being the one that's the covering of his babies, right? And bearing them, Israel, the baby birds in the nest on his wings, right? And nobody else was doing it, right? Yeah. And he was alone in doing that, and there wasn't none of these strange idols or things,
Strange
birds, right? There's none of these strange birds interfering or participating in any of this. Okay, verse 13.
He made him ride in the heights of the earth, and he ate the fruit of the fields. And he made him to draw honey from the rock, and oil from the flinty rock.
Mm-hmm.
Curds from the cattle, and milk of the flock, with fat of lambs and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the choicest wheat. And you drink wine the blood of the grapes.
Okay, so very good. So we see over here, it's basically the same story that we seen from before, right? We see the Most High is dealing with, he's talking about Israel now, where he becomes a covering, a protector, a provider for Israel,
right?
And takes Israel to a place where Israel is able to kind of be blessed by the Most High in every way, right? He made him to ride in the heights of the earth, right? It just ate the fruit of the fields, was able to draw honey from a rock. I'm not even sure how honey comes out of a rock or how oil comes out of a flinty rock. But however it is that comes to be, it happened for him, right? And then verse 15. What's 15 say over here?
But Yeshurun grew fat and kicked. And you grew fat, you grew thick, you are covered with fat. So he forsook Eloah, who made him, and scorned the rock of his deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
They moved him to jealousy with foreign matters, with abominations they provoked him.
Okay, so when we think about this, again, we're talking about Israel. It says Yeshurun because Yeshurun simply means upright ones.
Yeah,
right? And so he's speaking about Israel. So he brings Israel to this place of uprightness. When we see this term used in regards to Israel, is really Israel at the height of our uprightness. This is the goal, right? When we think about Israel in terms of a process, we think about Jacob, we think about Israel and Yeshurun, right? And so Jacob, of course, is that state of carnality, right? Where he wants to just kind of deal with things from that carnal perspective, right? And so Israel is that place where he wrestles with the spiritual, right?
Yeah.
But Yeshurun is that place where he has arrived, right? But it's interesting that every time we see that, every time we see this place of Israel being at its height, immediately we see the fall happens.
But that reminds me, that really reminds me. See, when I started getting this, I started to realize that we was meant to feel what y'all felt. We was meant to go through that. When like we see, like it was whether it's a man or a woman, you got both sides of the story. You got the female and you got the man. So whether you're a man or a woman, you're going to feel this because you might find someone that's not pleasable to everyone else. No one's not noticing them, and you take them upon yourself and choose them to be yours, and you elevate them and upgrade them to where they're getting all this attention now, and they start feeling themselves, and they break your heart.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing about it is that I'm saying that this here is basically the natural progression of of our existence as human beings.
Right.
This is what we do, because when, again, we look, if we just think about how is it that Israel at kind of the picture of perfection, makes it to this place of being the recipients of wrath from the Most High.
It provoked them with jealousy.
Yeah, that's I used to say sometimes, I used to think sometimes, like, thinking about what we went through with slavery and whatnot, and how what we're doing with our freedom. I'm like, man, sometimes I think like maybe we shouldn't be free the way we act as with our freedom. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if we're going to act all crazy and all uncontrollable, I understand why we go through all of these cursings and these persecutions and whatnot. It's because look at how we behave when we get a little bit of freedom.
Yeah, and it's but it's the result of something, though, right? And when you get to that place, in both instances, we see that the Most High dealt with Israel in such a way and lifted Israel up from nothing in both instances, and then the same exact thing happened in both instances, right? We see, what happened was they start going after these other gods. They was filling themselves is exactly what happened, right? They start feeling themselves is what happened, right? Inordinate self-esteem, an unreasonable conceit of one's own superiority in talents, beauty, wealth, accomplishments, ranks, or elevation in office, which manifests itself in lofty airs, distance, reserve, and often in contempt of others. When we think about this thing over here, pride.
What was that you looked at?
This is pride.
Oh, that's pride? Okay.
Yeah. Pride. Self-esteem, you should feel good about yourself. You should feel good about yourself. But this makes it pride over here, right?
Inordinate.
Well, you know what? What people with low self-esteem, they're a terrible place. Like, they're always looking down on themselves, right? It's okay. It's okay to feel all right about yourself and good, like, right? But there's a place that this turns into something else.
When you can't acknowledge your flaws or your faults, or when nobody can tell you nothing. Like, what? I don't know. I'm the stuff. I don't know what you talking about.
Yeah.
You just hating on me.
All right. I feel like there's like a meter thing, right, that when it gets to like self-esteem, and then it goes past it, right, into pride. Right. Look, an unreasonable conceit. So it seems like there should be some type of reasonable conceit, that there could be, but pride is definitely the unreasonable conceit, right, of one's superiority and talents.
Self-esteem, inordinate, reasonable conceit, and unreasonable.
Yeah, and pride is that place that it just went too far, right? And so I'm saying that it seems as if, from a carnal perspective, this is really the natural progression of any good quality, right? Moving into this kind of inordinate view. In other words, there has to be, I'm saying that there has to be some additional quality that comes in to the situation to kind of bring balance to somebody's talent or beauty or wealth or accomplishments or rank, to prevent this pride thing from happening. Because, when you don't have this extra ingredient added into the situation, it seems as if this is where it goes to, pride, from one degree to another. Israel proves it for us, right? We can pull up many verses that give you the same process over here, and we see this same thing happening, right? So let's look over here, because we're talking about pride that comes as a result of the place that the Most High put his people in. But let's look over here real quick, because I think that there's more to be said about this thing over here.
While you're looking at that, I just want to say that once I realized that the Most High loved me so much and he was the one to take care of me, once you realize that, you'll be a fool to turn your back. It's like trading in the Mercedes-Benz for a Pinto. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, so your pride becomes in him. You boast in him because you love to cling to him. You love to represent him and to be all about him. You know what I mean? I don't need y'all other ones. I don't need y'all other ones to co-sign me because I got to go one.
Yeah, but it's interesting though. I mean, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying over here is that there is necessary for this added extra ingredient to be added to your situation, so that you're able to have that balance and know and not take it from the ordinate self-esteem and move it over into the inordinate, right? Because Israel, we should have known that it was the Most High that brought us out of Egypt.
Right.
But as soon as Moses didn't come back, they built the Golden Calf and said that the Golden Calf brought them out of Egypt, right? And so they forgot. They forgot what happened. And so, Israel, we should have known that it was the Most High that gave us everything that we had, that we could look at and say is beautiful. But as soon as we actually started to kind of experience our beauty, we started giving it away to people who it didn't belong to, right? And so it's easy for us to say what should be, but it ain't that. That's not what we do. And there's just so many examples of us not doing that.
Think about it, it's so funny. Because think about it like this. They took off all their gold to make an idol and then get his idol credit and say this idol brought us out of Egypt. But the idol couldn't save itself for them. In fact, they had to carry the idol.
Yeah. And so when you think about the way that, when we think about it from the outside looking in, kind of the ridiculousness that's involved in idolatry, when you understand who the Most High is.
Right.
But yet and still, the ridiculousness then never stop us from participating in it.
Yes.
Right. So let's look at Job 33, 16 and 17. What does that say?
Then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction, to turn man from his deed and conceal pride from man.
Okay, hold on. Let me see what this says in the. I like this. Read this. Read this. Hold on. What did that say in the other one?
Scriptures.
Seals his instruction. Oh yeah. I like this one over here. Let's look at this here.
King James.
16 and 17. Yeah. Read it. Yeah.
Then he openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man.
Okay, so 17 right says, see, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man. I wonder if the purpose of man is pride. like the thing that is going to just naturally, what's this word mean here? Purpose. Action, good or bad, transactor, activity, labor, way of making, occupation, right? So this is the thing that he's based that I may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man. It's almost to say that the purpose or the activity or the work of man is pride. That's what man wants to do, is be prideful. We want to do that. We need some extra ingredient to be put into us so that we don't move in that direction. That because that's what our humanity, our carnality wants to do. Take credit for these things when it's not, we didn't put the thing there. We just was recipients of something. And then once you receive, when you think about the way that a certain class of people are, right? And maybe not even the people who did whatever they did to get to be a part of this particular class, but just the recipients, their forefathers did the work. All they did was just be born and benefit from what their fathers have done, right? But then you have this kind of these attitudes of entitlement and things that you possess.
It's inordinate self-esteem.
it's inordinate self-esteem, which is synonymous with pride, right? But unchecked, that's what happens. When you work with people, when you help people to get to a particular place, sooner or later, those people gonna feel like, you work when you work with people on just like in terms of employer-employee relationships, right? When you take people from a place of not having anything and you provide opportunities for people, and sooner or later, in some instances, those people forget how it is that they got there.
Speaking of that, I had a guy that we send our guys that work for us to get training, right? So we're sitting in the classroom, which we're paying for. We pay $150 per person for them to take this refresher class.
Yeah.
And he's sitting in the classroom telling people, saying in front of everybody there and the teacher, instructor, like, yeah, y'all don't do nothing. I do all the work. Yeah. Y'all need me. Y'all need me. That's why. And I'm sitting here at this man looking through the glasses we bought him. Yeah, we bought him the glasses on his face. Yeah. Looking through the glasses in his face as he's telling me we don't do nothing for him. And he's literally there because I put him there.
Yeah. And these people, they just being Israel. That's all they doing. They just being Israel. I'm saying to a greater degree, they just being human beings. But this is the example that Israel gives us in the scriptures. The Most High takes us and puts us in a particular position, and then we forget how it is that we got there in the first place. Okay, what's Proverbs 18:12 say over here?
Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty, and before the honor is humility.
Okay, so it says that the heart of man is haughty, right? Or high-minded, right? Or prideful. That's in your heart. What that word mean? Haughty. Haughty. That's not like a beautiful woman, right? A haughty.
Ooh, yeah, that's
Oh my goodness!
I forgot that one.
Oh my god!
Hot tea by nature.
Oh my goodness.
That's different, right? To soar, to be lofty, right? To be higher, right? To be higher or lifted up or mounted up or to be proud, raised up, right? Your heart is that. Before destruction, the way that you get to destruction is just by obeying your heart, which is haughty, right?
Yeah.
Before honor is humility. The thing that leads to honor is being the opposite of this, right? It starts with the same letter and ends with the same letter, but the insides are polar opposites. right? Right? So here, let's look at this over here. Because we got to understand that our hearts are intrinsically wicked. We can't sit up here and have people just sit up here and just shower us with accolades without a little bit of a certain type of ingredient inside of us to cause us to act right about it. Because sooner or later we just gonna start feeling ourselves and say, "Oh yes, yeah." Hold on, let me put the camera on the thing on. Oh yes, what did you say about me? Yes, just keep on.
Yeah,
Just stop that. Just stop, but don't stop.
Just stop.
Right.
Stop and be like, no, keep going.
Yeah. Right, because that's the way that our heart is, right? Without that extra ingredient inside, right? And the Most High tried. He tried with the people to tell a people, yes, you are the apple of my eye. Yes, you are the most beautifulest thing that I've ever made. You're my number one, right? The whole earth is mine, but you're my special treasure, right? Imagine if I sat up here and talked to my woman like that all the time, right? Imagine what would happen to me, right? It would be terrible. It would be. There's no words to describe the things that will result in me just being the way that the Most High is towards His people, right? Because of that, our heart is intrinsically wicked.
It's interesting because in the manosphere,
that's amazing word.
Yeah,
yes.
They say that you can't even tell a woman you love her no more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't tell no woman you love her. Mm-hmm. No, because as soon as you tell her that, it's over.
It's done. Right, and so again, what we're speaking of this from the realm of carnality, right? In our carnal minds, apart from the Most High, without that extra salt, that Ruach HaKodesh, the presence and character of the Most High dwelling on the inside of us, we see what happens. We see what happens, right? Because this is the condition of our hearts. Let me look over here at 1 Corinthians.
Hey, when you go over there, do you ever heard the saying, Chris, never buy a woman those shoes because she will walk over you in them? Yeah. You know, my grandma used to always tell me that. She used to be like, it's okay to give her money, but don't even tell her they force shoes. Let her buy her own. She was like, because the minute she know you're buying her, walk all over you. Man, that really happened to me too. I did not listen to that instruction.
Okay, look at 1 Corinthians 2. Let me make this bigger. 2, start reading at verse 9 over there. What's that say?
But as it has been written, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor have entered into the heart of man what Elohim has prepared for those who love him.
Okay, so it hasn't entered in the heart of man to be able to understand what it is that the Most High has done for us. Right? It says, nor have it's not. It hasn't even entered into the heart of man what Elohim has prepared for those who love him. He prepared some magnificent, extravagant, magnanimous things for those that love him. But it says right over here that you ain't never seen nothing like this. You ain't never heard nothing like this. And it ain't even entered into the heart of you what it is that this thing is over here that he's done for you.
And we love him by what? Keeping his Torah. Just like the Messiah said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments.
Well, okay, hold on, but we want to keep on going over here. What's verse 10 and 11 say?
But Elohim has revealed them to us through his spirit, for the spirit searches all matters, even the depths of Elohim.
Okay, them, he has revealed them. Them is the things that he prepared for us, right? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. For who among men knows the thoughts of a man except the spirit of the man that is in him? So also the thoughts of Elohim no one has known except the spirit of Elohim.
Okay, so again, what we saying is that when we think about the heart of man, there is a separation in the heart of a man that's not able to perceive these things, and unless we have the spirit inside of us to cause us to have balance within us, certain things, certain true things is going to cause us to falter, right? It could be the truth. It could be Israel really did get brought into this high place. Israel really was fit for royalty. Israel really was this beautiful people, right? All of those things was true. But as soon as we begin to act on those things and forget about the way in which we got to that place in the first place, wow, now we got problems.
Yeah, it takes the Ruach to show you, how to love the Most High, by keeping His commandments.
Right, or even how to even just be. What we talking about loving the Most High? We're talking about loving man as yourself.
Right.
We have to always understand that everything, every good thing that we have comes from the Most High. Yeshua wouldn't let them people sit up there and call him good, and he's Yeshua. Why callest thou me good? He said, Yeshua did. Oh, good teacher. Let me get some of your knowledge. Why you calling me good? Yeshua himself wanted to teach this person a lesson about understanding where goodness comes from.
Right.
None is good but the Most High. So in other words, no matter how much good that Yeshua exhibited and manifest and shown to these people, he wanted to make sure that he still was able to direct all of the praise to the Most High for these exact same reasons. Because if we aren't able to understand the source of where our goodness derives, then we're gonna end up just like how all of these other ones have ended up. What we see in Scripture. Okay, let's look over here. We're still dealing with the Torah portion, really, because we're thinking about the fact that the Most High chose his people as this peculiar treasure and has given his peculiar treasure all types of gold and silver and brass, to literally be this thing that is beautiful. But we have to understand that the Most High is the provider of all of these things, and not forget where our blessings derive.
Are you going to warn the Gentiles as well as Paul did in Romans 11? When he talked about
when you think about that over there in Romans chapter 11, it's the same thing that we talking about. It's the exact same process, just showing us that our heart really is intrinsically wicked. When the Most High provides these blessings for all people, and then once you begin to receive these blessings, you forget
kicking against
you forget how you got here in the first place. It's just a continual thing. And so the idea here is, whether you're talking about natural Israel, who is, well, let's just go over there.
One guy told me, I know I'm Israel. They woke me up. I said, well, it's much more to just being woken and know who you are. What are you doing about it?
All right, let's begin to look at verse 11. Oh, hold on, let me put it back on the screen. Start reading at verse 11 right there.
I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Let it not be. But by their fall, deliverance has come to the nations to provoke them to jealousy.
Okay, they is Israel, right? I say then that they, Israel, stumble that they should fall, right? That's Israel, right? Okay, keep going, verse 12.
And if their fall is riches for the world, and their failure for which is for the nations, how much more their completeness?
Okay, again, we still talking about Israel over here, right? If they fall, it says that if their fall is riches for the world, their failure riches for the nations, how much more would it be if they didn't fail? Right? If they're able to fail and that become riches for the nations, how much more would it be if they was complete as instead of failure? Right? And so we have to understand over here, as Paul's we're talking about, was he talking about the nations, the Gentiles, and Israel, and how the Gentiles is supposed to actually be, right? Don't look at what happens or what will happen with them, speaking to the Gentiles. Don't look at what's happening to them or what will happen or where you end up, and don't think that the Most High is not dealing with Israel because he's dealing with you. Right? He dealing with you, but don't sit up here and think that he ain't dealing with them just because he's dealing with you, right? Okay, 13.
For I speak to you, the nations, inasmuch as I am an emissary to the nations, I esteem my service. If somehow I might provoke to jealousy those who are my flesh and save some of them.
So even though Paul is this one who's speaking out to the Gentiles, right? If somehow I'm able to provoke them to jealousy by what I'm doing with you, that's all good, right? He it's not as if he don't want for his own people to receive this blessing that the Most High has made available to these people, right? 15.
For For if their casting away is the restoration of favor of the world, what is their acceptance but life from the dead?
Okay, so we got to understand he's saying this, but he's not saying that they are cast away, right? He's giving you this kind of it's kind of hyperbolic what he's dealing with over here. If they're casting away is a restoration of the whole world, what would their acceptance be? Right? Just what if it just like how he said this over here? If their failure is riches to the nations, how much more would it be if they didn't fail? Right? He's kind of giving you this kind of a juxtaposition of kind of opposites over here. The terrible thing is happening, and the terrible thing is this a great thing for you? What would happen if a great thing would happen? It would be even a greater thing for you, right? Okay, 16.
Now, if the first fruit is set apart, the lump is also. And if the root is set apart, so are the branches.
Mm-hmm.
And if some of the branches were broken off, and you, being a wild olive tree, have been grafted in among them, and came to share the root and the fatness of the olive tree, do not boast against the branches. And if you boast, remember, you do not bear the root, but the root bears you.
This is the point over here, right? You was this wild tree that you did never have no connection to the root or the fatness of the tree before. It was made the ability for you to be able to enjoy the root and the fatness of the olive tree came as a result of you being attached to the thing, right? And so you can't come along here and boast against the branches because the branches is connected to the root, right? And the root is what bears you. And so the problem that Paul is having with the Gentiles, it's not a new problem. It's the same problem that Israel has, right? It's the same problem that humans have when we get put into a particular position.
They get them riches.
When you get them riches,
Garments.
when you get all the garments and the silk and all of the things, you start to feel, and the bracelets and the gold and the silver, you begin to feel a certain way about yourself, and then it's all about you, right? And so whether it be Israel, whether it be the Gentiles, we see in scripture where it's necessary for us to remember where these things are coming from. What you say? What you say? You okay. Okay, so again, because we have to think about the way that the Most High is for us, because he wants to bless us. He wants to do all kinds of wonderful things for his people, but we have to understand that when he does these things, that we have to be able to receive these things that he does for us with a particular balance, right? Okay, let's look over here. Oh, you said with humility, right? Humility, and humility is a characteristic that comes from the Most High. And so when we think about the idea of exhibiting or manifesting humility, it's about allowing your character to be influenced by the spirit and the presence of the Most High, and dealing with his blessings in that regard, because he want to bless us. Mm-hmm. He can't help but bless us because he just that's his character, right? Look what he talk about over here in Jeremiah chapter 30. Start reading that verse 18.
Thus said Yahweh, see, I turn back the captivity of Yahud's tents and have compassion on his dwelling places. And the city shall be built upon its own mound, and the palace stand on its right place. And out of them shall arise thanksgiving in the voice of those who are laughing. And I shall increase them, and they shall not diminish. And I shall esteem them, and they shall not be small.
Israel, we're talking about Israel, right?
That's right.
and his children shall be as before, and his congregation shall be established before me, and I shall punish all who oppress him.
Okay, so when we think about it, the Most High talking about Israel, right? He talking about Israel in a fallen state, right? He's talking about Israel in a fallen state. Israel that became in a fallen state because of disobedience.
Right.
Right? Because of the fact that the Most High built us up and then he broke us down after he built us up. He broke us down because we didn't give him his due. He say, don't worry. I'll increase you. Right? I'll increase you. They won't diminish you. Right? I'll esteem in you. Right? And your children, right, shall be as they was before, right? Your inheritance will grow. When your inheritance was nothing, now it's going to be something, right? His congregation shall be established before me, and he going to punish the ones that oppressed you, even though they were just oppressing you because the Most High ordained for them to oppress you, right? This is how the Most High is. Now, if I sat up here, let me just say, if I sat up here and my little babies come and then tell on the other one, they come and tell on the other one what the other one did, right? And then I sit up there and go beat the one that got told on. Other one's gonna feel there's a certain kind of power or something that happens. Like he's not gonna sit up here and do this to me. I'm gonna tell on him so that he can get a whooping. Right? That pride builds up, right? But when you think about it, there's wickedness involved in that, right? So even though you're sitting up here bringing your judgment against this one who really is bad, there's also judgment that could be rightly given to the other one, because at the end of the day, you know, there's some kind of a manipulative kind of a wicked kind of intent that was involved in the other one. So it's not as if the oppressor is just like this pawn that's just just getting this unjust payments, right? The Most High uses these wicked people to do the wicked things, and he allows them to exhibit their wickedness towards us, but then he's gonna get them for their wickedness after, right? And so I'm just saying that just to say it's not as if he just like, I'm gonna sit up here and use them to sit up here and then beat them for using them, like, right? They was already wicked before, right? It's interesting that these these people is wicked all over the place, right? And you're able to see throughout history all over the place people that never even is connected to these other people. They don't know what their ancestors did, right? But somehow there's still like this wickedness that's still present there, right? They don't got to be taught certain things. They just automatically behave in a certain way. I'm saying that just to say that the people are wicked in their hearts, and if you don't never come to the knowledge of what it is that the Most High has for those that are that seek after his face, if you don't never come to the knowledge of the truth, then you just gonna be just manifesting wickedness just all over the place, right? And so over here back in Jeremiah over here, hold on, we got down to verse 20. I want to read a couple more of these verses here, because the Most High is on the side of Israel, right? What's 21 say?
And his prince shall be from him, and his ruler shall come from among him. and I shall bring him near, and he shall approach me. For those who is this who pledge his heart to approach me, declares Yahweh. And you shall be my people, and I shall be your Elohim. See, the storm of Yahweh shall go forth in a rage, a whirling storm. It bursts upon the head of the wrong. The burning displeasure of Yahweh shall not turn back until he has done and established the purposes of his heart. In the later days you shall understand it.
Okay, very good. So we see over here, and we think about the timing of this with Yirmiyahu giving this these prophetic utterances. We're talking about Israel in a state of wickedness, right? In a state of being in a state of judgment by the Most High. And then yet and still the Most High calls out to us saying, you know, if you just turn back, right, there's still something for you.
Can I land back on that with
Go ahead.
verses, my brother? More right down y'all. Baruch 2, 30-35, which is one of my favorites. I will, if you want me to turn it over, I'll just read it.
Go ahead.
Baruch 2, 30-35, so people can read it. And every time I read this, I kind of cry, but I'm gonna try not to. Just because I get so soft when it comes to Baruch 2, 30-35, 35. For I knew that they would not hear me because of the stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves, known as the Great Awakening today, and shall know that I am Yah, the Elohim. For I will give them an heart and ears to hear. And what the Messiah say, my sheep hear my voice. And they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. Hallelujah. And return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the ways of their fathers, which have sinned before Yah the Elohim. That's repenting. And I will bring them again into the land which I promised an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be masters of it. And I will increase them. Here's the word. And they shall not be diminished. What we were just talking about, which was part of our curse in Deuteronomy. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land which I've given them. It didn't say my people Germany or Japan or anybody else. It says my people of Israel. And it's plain to see that no one fit that description but us, because we are in the land of our captivity. This is the Great Awakening. We praising Yah in the land of our captivity, and we thinking about the sins of our ancestors, and we're repenting. It's like a forerunner prophecy that rest haven't been fulfilled yet. But that it goes in sync with Jeremiah that Maury Johnny Allen was just reading.
Yeah, and so we have to be able to understand that the Most High, we see that He loves His people, right? But what we just have to be able to do is just make sure that we don't take that love that He has for us and not kind of reciprocate it in the proper way, right? Because we already seen examples of the Most High loving His people, and then even though He was a husband unto them, they still broke His covenant. Right. And so the thing about it is that we have to be able to allow the Ruach that He makes available to us. We have to allow that to work, because when we look and see what the record shows, just like what the record shows is that we're not able to receive the gifts of the Father and operate properly as a result. I want to look at 2 Corinthians chapter 4, Here, read for us 2 Corinthians 4, verse 1.
Therefore, having this service, even as we receive compassion, we do not lose heart.
Okay, very good. So when we think about this over here, right? Therefore, having this service, even as we have received compassion, right? That's what we're talking about over here. This idea of receiving something from the Most High and then having the appropriate response. Right. We think about compassion. Some translations translate that as mercy. You have received mercy. That word in the Greek is aleio, to be compassionate, divine. Thank you very much. Grace, to have or receive or show mercy. If we look at the Hebrew equivalent to this word that's translated as mercy or compassion, in the Greek, this word was translated in the Septuagint. We see that it's kind of comparative to this Hebrew word that is 2603, which is Hanan, which is to bend or stoop in kindness to an inferior, right? Hanan, right? So the idea of a superior bending and stooping in kindness down to an inferior, right? That's what the idea of Hanan is, which gives you the idea of favor or to bestow or to implore or to move to favor. When we think about the idea of someone who has a lot, who's giving to someone who doesn't have anything, right? Who is someone who's kind of filled or overflows with whatever, where he makes himself available to and provides for someone who doesn't have anything, right? Hanan. Here, let's look at this Hanan word, mercy. Where's it? Oh, it's right here. Let me see. So Hanan is a chet, a noon, and a noon, which in the ancient this. So Hanan would be like this is a chet, which in the ancient is this fence, right? The chet is a fence. It gives you the idea of differentiation, right? It keeps things out, it keeps things in, right? And you have the sprouted seed, right? A sprouted seed, is the beginnings of things, the beginnings of life, the continuance of families, right? So if we have the idea of the continuance of the sprouting seed inside of walls or a fence, right? You have the continuance of seeds really kind of is this family, right? the sprouting seed is the beginnings of the family, right? It's where it begins, and then you have it being protected, and you have it being fenced in or differentiated, right? And so when we think about the idea of mercy, you have this idea kind of these ones that need to be able to grow, right? The sprouting seed needs to be able to grow, so therefore it needs to be able to be protected, right? It needs to be able to be kind of fenced in. It needs to be a differentiation made between it and the things that are on the outside. And so when the Most High talks about him being merciful towards us, his people, we have the idea incorporated in that in someone that needs something from the mercy giver, right? And there's nothing that the mercy receiver can give to the mercy giver, right? The little seed that sprouted can't do anything for the one who's there to protect the seed, right? That thing got to grow and be nurtured and be fed and led and directed so that it could get to a particular place, right? So it's helpless, basically. And so when you think about the idea of this mercy, it's about you providing something for another that they're not able to provide for their own self, right? It's about you receiving something that in under any other circumstances that you would never be able to receive. And so when we think about over here, when we think about back to Second Corinthians, where it says, "Therefore we have this ministry as we have received mercy, we do not lose heart." In other words, the reason why we're able to not lose heart is understanding that we've received this thing from on high that we don't deserve. Right? We have this thing that we've received, and it's of no good of our own selves. Right? This is very important for us to understand, because when you think about, when you look and see, you brought up earlier, you look and see about some of these people who have supposedly received of this ministry and received the same mercy. It turns into this kind of it's an entitlement thing, right? I'm this, you're that, you wish you was me, right? I'm better than you. Come over here and kiss my boot.
Give me a skate.
This is all these things, right, that don't exhibit, it don't have anything to do with mercy. Right? It's like I got what I got because I deserve it. Obviously. I obviously deserve this thing that I received. You obviously don't receive it, don't deserve it. Right? If you act right, maybe I'll let you have some leftovers.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's up to debate, right? Maybe you'll get some, maybe you won't. We'll see. It's not my problem. That's your problem, right? If anything, you'll be washing my sheets or something, right? But Paul says over here, right? We have received mercy, and that's the reason why we do not lose heart, because we should have an understanding as to why we are even in the place that we are in the first place, right? It's not about us, but it's about him. If we think back to the Torah portion, yes, the people came and they gave all of the gold and they gave all the silver and the brass, but the only reason why they had it in the first place is because the Most High gave it to them.
They told them they wanted us on their way out.
It was a blessing from on high, right? And so we have to remember the way in which we get to the place that we're in and give the Most High all of the credit. right? Every time. Because every time, we see what happens, right? We can look at some more over here. What does it say over here? Deuteronomy 4.
You want Deuteronomy 4?
35.
That's where he makes the case for Yah.
What does it say right here?
You have been shown it to know that Yahweh himself is Elohim. There is no one beside him.
Man.
From the heavens, he let you hear his voice to instruct you, and on earth he showed you his great fire. And you heard his words out of the midst of fire.
Out of the midst of fire. Keep on.
And because he loved your fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them.
Hold on, wait a second. Read that again.
And because he loved your fathers, therefore he chose their seed.
He said over here that because he loved your fathers, he's talking to the kids. Because he loved your fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them. It had nothing to do with them. He loved your fathers. He's not even necessarily saying that he loved them necessarily. He might love them, but that's not what he's saying right here. Because he loved your fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them. Go ahead.
And brought you out of Mitzrayim with his presence.
This is a very interesting verse over here because I didn't ever think about that until just right now. He's not stating that he loves the seed. He might love the seed, but that's not in the sentence. He's not saying that.
I don't think he does.
we would be putting into this verse. We would be eisegeting if we said that he loves the seed based on this verse. That's not the point. But the point is that because of the fact that he loved your fathers, he chose you and then he brought you out of Egypt with great power.
It makes you question whether or not when he's saying I love Israel, if he's not talking about actual Israel.
What do you mean?
Not the seed.
Oh, he's not. He did say. I'm saying right here in this verse, he's not talking about the seed.
Right.
It's clear.
It's clear.
In this verse right here, the love for the seed is not the point. The point over here is I'm giving you something. You're receiving something. The seed of the fathers who I loved is receiving something because of the fact that I love them. So the state of our relationship don't got nothing to do with what you're receiving right here.
And,
it's not involved. Go ahead.
If you flip it on the other side, flip that on his head, the seeds of, the nations are going to be punished because of what their fathers did.
Yeah.
So it's like, fathers have a lot to do with whether, you're being blessed or whether you're going to get punished.
Yeah. Right. And so, and that being said, so that makes it even more necessary that there be repentance all around. Because there's something that's coming to you that you gonna get if you don't turn around from it. That hold on, let me put the thing over here. The Most High got his hand cocked back, and he's about to let it go on you. And if you do not apologize, you're getting it, right? And you personally didn't even do it. It was your father that did it. You didn't ask to be put into this particular family or what have you, but you was.
Just like we were.
Right. It didn't have nothing to do with us. It had to do with Abraham. He loved Abraham.
And
that was his man, Abraham.
And some people that tickle me when they be like, "Oh, we must listen to our ancestors." If I can listen to my ancestors and have a chance to talk to them, I got a bone to pick with them. put me in this position that I'm in today. How could y'all just do that to me?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what they talking about? Listen to our ancestors.
Yeah, I ain't listening to them. But the thing about it is, because of our wicked hearts, we would did the same thing they did.
Yeah.
Right? We could sit up here. It's easy for us to sit up here and say, how could you? How could you sit up here and do this stuff when you had all of those things going on?
That's what the greatest.
And so it's easy for us on the outside looking in to say, man, I never would have did that. Right? But you would have did it because your heart is wicked.
Yeah.
Your heart is wicked, and the purpose of your heart is pride.
Even saying that.
I guess we have to go.
Even saying you wouldn't have did it. That shows you're wicked.
But you know what? I guess you have to go through. I guess you have to go through some things in order to say I wouldn't have done it. Because if we ain't go through it, now I see what you're saying. If we never experienced it, most likely we would do it. You know,
because it seemed not experiencing it, you don't understand the hardness or easiness that goes along with the situation. I can sit up here and look at somebody else do something, and then kind of think about the level of hardness or easiness that's associated with that thing. But until I do it, I can't really know. It's just theory. Right? But once I get on the thing and be like, wait, this is a little harder than I thought it would be. Like if I could sit up there and think about, like, I could look at somebody like on a skateboard or something, and I could say it should be easy just to stand still like that on the skateboard and just let the wheels kind of take you wherever it goes. Right. But then when the first time I ever stepped on one was actually also the last time I ever stepped on one. Because when I put my feet on that thing, I flipped up in the air, feet up above my head. Right. And so, it's easy for you to look at something and say, yeah, I could do that. Or you can't do it. But when you experience is a whole another thing. So, what we can say with our imperfect selves is look at ourselves and look at our own personal histories and know that yes, we are indeed wicked. There's a certain attachment that we have to the things that our fathers have done. But even if we wasn't attached to this or that, we still err in our own ways as well. Right. And so it's like there's no escaping the fact that we need to repent. There's no good thing in us. Our hearts are intrinsically wicked. All we want to do is sit up here and give our own self credit for something that the Most High did for us.
That's like Baruch 2, like when Baruch 2 explains and tells us that we will remember the sins of our fathers and how they sinned against the Most High. That's something that we have that they might not have had. We remembering what they did wrong. We picking up the ball and picking up and doing better than where they left off at. You know, we have that ability, and we also have the opportunity, I would say, to do better. And when you know better, you do better.
And I think that remembering the sins of the father is not like look at those wicked people, what they did, right? Remembering it is not only remembering what they did, but understanding what's necessary so that we don't be in the same predicament. Right? It's understanding that the Most High, in his loving commitment, said, I want for this people to have another chance at being with me, right? And so understanding that through Yeshua, he has made provisions to be able to make it over that hump that they wasn't able to make it over. He told Israel, he told us what we were supposed to be doing, but that just saying it obviously isn't enough. We need to be changed from the inside out.
Yes.
Because we've looked at multiple examples of the Most High putting his people in a place. If I sit up here and I can take you out the hood, but I can't take the hood out of you. Right?
Yeah.
I can't. I could take you and dress you up and put you somewhere, but I can't change you on the inside.
I used to hear that down Bluefield, West Virginia, so much.
But it's the truth, and it's the truth on every level. There needs to be a transformation that happens on the inside, or else you're going to always kind of go back to the root. All right. And so what we have to do, like it says over in 2 Corinthians, is to it says, therefore, since we have this ministry, as we receive mercy, we do not lose heart. Right? The thing that causes us to be able to move forward and not lose heart is to remember how it is you got here in the first place. We're building this tabernacle. We're building this temple of the Most High with the parts that he gave us to build it. Right? We didn't make the parts. Right? He gave us the opportunity to receive the parts, told us how to do it, told us how to put this there and that over there in order to make it, right? And so we have to remember how we got here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, read verse 2 right there. Hold on, let me make this big again. We still talking about the tabernacle, right? We still talking about that when we talking about our proper response to what the Most High has provided for us in regards to. Okay, read that verse 2.
But have renounced the secret ways of shame, nor walking in craftiness, nor falsifying the word of Elohim, but by the manifestation of the truth, recommending ourselves to every human conscience in the sight of Elohim.
Okay, very good. It says, but we have renounced the things hidden because of shame. Okay, so but have renounced. That word means to speak out or to speak off or to refuse or to deny or to disown or to scorn with aversion these hidden things because of shame. Here, let me put this up here. If we think about this word here, let's see it. That's translated as shame. King James says dishonesty. Right? This word here is translated as both shame or disgrace, right? Both dishonesty and shame. So we could think about this. We could think about this in terms of shame or dishonesty or both, right? Shame as a result of dishonesty. Speaking out against things hidden because of shame. Speaking out against things hidden because of dishonesty. From a dishonesty standpoint, we think about the fact that there's many people who might say that they are this or that, right? But we're able to know what one is based on the fruit. Yeshua said, you know a tree by its fruit, right? So again, we see people who say that they are the people, yet there's much shame and dishonesty that's associated with the fruits of these people, right? Mm-hmm. And so, when we look at this in the fullness, right, at this what's going on over here, since we have this ministry, as we receive mercy, we do not lose heart, but we renounce. We're supposed to be renouncing these things that are of dishonesty and that are of shame. But when we look out and see those that are saying that they are Israel, at the same time, we see that they are manifesting something that is actually something that should be being renounced.
As I used to always say, Moray, that the withered fruit that dropped from the rotted tree has spread throughout the New Age awakening of Israel. You will know them by the fruit they do not produce. You understand? That is very true.
Yeah.
All Israel just isn't real.
Yeah. It's it's very important. It's very important for us to be able to be, if we're going to be the temple of the Most High, if we're going to be His tabernacle, if we're going to be these ones who have been built with all of these fine materials and with this wonderful blueprint that the Most High has put forth. We have to be able to actually be authentically Israel. And that's to say we have to have gotten here because of Yeshua and what he did, not because of who your daddy is. Right? Because it's not about you. It's about the promise that the Most High made with Abraham, right? Where you are receiving something based on his love for your father. Right? We think about Romans 5:8, but Elohim commands his love toward us in that while we were yet sinners, Messiah died for us. He did something for us. He commanded his love towards us, right? Because of it had nothing to do with us and who we were, what we were owed, right? Because we were owed death, right? We were owed, eternal damnation, right? But because of the character of the Most High and who he is, he's given us this wonderful thing. But it's important for us to remember this over here. Let's see here. Read for us verse 2. I think we're gonna close it up thinking about this over here. Read verse 2 over here.
Looking to the prince.
Oh wait, hold on a second. Let me make this big. Okay, go ahead.
Looking to the Prince and Perfecter of our belief, Yeshua, who for the joy that was set before him endured the stake, having despised the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne.
Okay, very good. So we see over here, we looked at this in the King James. It say he is the Yeshua. Where's my cursor? Is the author and finisher of our faith. He the one who write it. He the one who ends it. Right? He's the Prince and Perfecter. How do you get that? Let me see what this say over here. The chief leader, author, captain, prince. Interesting. He is the Prince and Perfecter of our faith. Right? And so if we don't know that, if we don't walk in a way that manifests that, then we not really in it. You're not really in it, right? If he's the author and finisher of it, but he the last thing that you thinking about, then it's a problem, right? It's a problem if Messiah is an afterthought in your situation. Right? Because we already know what happens if the Most High does a whole bunch of stuff for you and you don't have a transformed heart and mind. Mm-hmm. We know what happens. That, we know how the end of that book go. right? We see what the end result is of the Most High bestowing a myriad of blessings upon an unregenerated people. They end up the same way that they started, right? That's what happens, right? And so if we want to be able to be the people that the Most High wants for us to be, by the way, if we want to live up to our destiny that He has created for us, the only way we do that is through the Prince and Perfecter of our faith. Otherwise, we gonna just be like the tabernacle, that beautiful tabernacle that's lost. Where that tabernacle at? That thing gone. Where is that? That's the most beautifulest thing ever made in the wilderness, in the woods somewhere. Where is that? It's lost. Just like His people Israel would be lost outside of Messiah, Yeshua. Right? He is the author and finisher of our faith. He is the prince and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the stake. It says, despising the shame. When we think about the shame, Yeshua for us became a curse. He became a curse for us. But He despised that part of it, though. Right? He was excited about the result of what He did for us. But He despised the shame, of the thing that He did, because again, He became a curse. He took on the sin of the world, right? In that moment, there was a type of separation between Yeshua and the Father. And when you think about this idea of despising this shame, the same way we think about the idea of renouncing the hidden things because of shame, there's a particular way or thought that we should have towards these things that are against the Father. These things that have to do with sin, and these things that have to do with things that can't connect us back to the Father. These are shameful, dishonorable acts that we have to renounce, because they got no business in this thing that we're doing over here. And so when we look over here and see that we have these people who, at the end of the day, we're talking about pride. If I'm sitting up here want to say, well, yes, I'm Israel and I'm this and I'm that, right? And the Most High, He loves me all like this, and you are just some old whatever you are, right? Some nothingness, right?
A drop of spittle.
that's the wrong spirit, right? Because at the end of the day, that's pride of what I am, right? And what is, what is carnality. And so we have to be in the mind of the Spirit and those things which are eternal, right? And this stuff here is going to burn up, right? This stuff going to be dead, right? But what about those things which last forever, right? We have to deal with kind of securing those things which are eternal, and not kind of be infatuated with these these things that deal with carnality, right? Because the only way that we're able to reconnect with the Most High is through what he's given to us from a spiritual perspective. He got something for a particular people, not because of how great this particular people is, but in fact, in spite of the wickedness of Israel, he still loved us. Right? And so we have to think about the mercy that we receive, right? And as a result of that, it's saying over here to manifest, it says by the manifestation of truth, right? That's Yeshua. Yeshua is the way, the truth, and the life. The manifestation of truth is having Yeshua in and being the forefront of all of this, right? It's all about him, because if it wasn't for him, you would be wherever he found you at, right? And so, just kind of closing down on that note, thinking about the fact that, bringing it back, when we think about the beauty and the splendor of the tabernacle, it's the same way of thinking about the place that the Most High has or is able to bring, us as individuals, wherever you are or wherever you plan to be. It's only because of what it is that Yeshua has done for you, right? It's only because of you being able to exhibit the character that is placed on the inside of you and following after the leading and guiding of the Ruach HaKodesh that the Most High has placed on the inside of his people. Whether we're talking about the tabernacle that was built with such beauty by the things that the Most High blessed the people with, or we're talking about the temple that Solomon built based on all of the things that the Most High blessed them with, or whether we look over in Ezekiel with the baby that was lost and that grew into a woman and was blessed with all the things that the Most High gave, right? Or the people that was over to take over nations that was greater than them because of the power that the Most High gave to the people. Why would it be any other way other than that when we're thinking about the things that we have done or are made able to do because of what it is that the Most High has made possible for us. We have to always remember where from where our bread is buttered. Right? It's all because of the Prince and Perfecter of our faith, the author and finisher of our faith, who is Yeshua. Right? He's at the forefront, and it's easy for us to see and recognize those who have this truth inside of them, because his attributes are manifest, right, or the lack thereof. And so we want to, as the tabernacles of the Most High, to always remember that it's only because of Yeshua. It's only because of Yeshua. It's only because we're attached to the one who's able to attach us to the Father, who is Yeshua. Hallelujah. Okay, so on that note, we're going to say to all those that are here, we thank you for coming again. If you have not liked and subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. You'll get all of the notifications if you hit the bell over there whenever we put our new videos. I'm trying to put together a couple midweek things to put out, and of course we'll have our weekly sessions, y'all willing. So that being said, we want to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And y'all willing, we will be back on next week. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.